Alrighty, hey there everybody. My name is Anne. I'm one of the mentors here on the app. While people are hopping on, I've been a Sonlight mom since 2007. And before that, I was a high school science teacher. I have a degree in biology and a minor in chemistry, and a secondary science teaching certification. So it was super funny when people learned I was going to homeschool my kids, or they're like, "Oh man, that's so great! You're a teacher. That's a great thing for you to do." And I'm like, "Yeah, I could, I know what to do with a class of 20 high school science kids. But put me in a kindergarten class, and I'd want to run away." But as you know, teaching your own kids is a completely different thing. So as you hop on, feel free to jump on in the chat. I'm curious to know if you have a favorite science topic, or if your kids have a favorite science topic. If you saw the pictures I posted when my kids were younger, that was a fun trip down memory lane. They enjoyed so many of those experiments, and just getting outside in nature and finding all the little creatures and the roly-polies and things, and so much fun. So I guess I could say one of my favorite topics is of course biology in general, since I did study that in college. But I've done a lot of chemistry labs in our homeschool co-op, and I really enjoy that too. So when I first started looking into homeschooling, I actually found Sonlight right away, which is really awesome. And one of the things I loved so much about it was that they did have science even in their lower levels. And I started with their pre-K. The preschool did not exist when I had started out. And the reason I was looking for science at that young age is because I do believe that science is important. So if I kind of glance at my computer screen, forgive me, but I just wanted to make sure I let y'all know what I wanted to let you know. And so I've got a list of things here of why I think science is an important topic to cover within your homeschool. So one of the things I think is super important about science is that it's all about exploring the world around you. If you think about all the questions that your kids ask when they are young, why this and why that, most of those are related to science topics. And I do think that science emphasizes critical thinking skills when you're talking about the whys of the things that are all around you. I think that science is a great way to teach cause and effect with the scientific method and with the engineering method. I think that science helps you learn all about God's creation, and that's the more I learned, just the more amazed I was at God's creation. And this is something that I really think is true. I think science puts all the other subjects together. You use English in science. You've got to communicate your findings. You use math in science, especially, just wait till you get to high school chemistry. There's tons of math. And history even has a ton to do with science. And so science is a subject that puts all the other subjects together, and it really, I think it's super fun and interesting to study. And we did have a question in the app. Anita asked, what do you do when experiments don't work? And that has happened to everybody. So what do you do when experiments don't work? Well, mistakes in science are actually learning opportunities. And so in the actual world of science research, unexpected things happen all the time. I did a little Google search and found a clip, just a little tiny piece of this article from the journal Nature. And since I don't pay to get this journal, I couldn't read the whole thing. But based on this little clip, this is what I found out, that there was a scientist, a medical doctor, who had turned a career path and ended up being a research scientist. And he was really amazed at the difference between the two things, because when you are prescribing a medication or you're doing a certain medical procedure, you pretty much know what the outcome is going to be, or what the possible outcomes are going to be. But in research, you predict an outcome, and rarely do things happen like you think they will. And of course, that is in the area, of college level, graduate level research, where you are discovering things that nobody has done before. Now, those of us that are homeschooling, we are doing experiments with our science curriculum that have been done many times before. These things are published in a book, and they're supposed to work, right? But still, sometimes they don't. And so what do you do when that happens? Well, first of all, I'll just reiterate this. You've got to realize that when things don't work, it's an opportunity just to learn more. And if you have that attitude with it, that will, I can't think of the word right now, that will, soak through to your kids. And so don't get frustrated when things don't work. Let them see that this is an opportunity to figure things out and to problem solve and figure out what happened. So here are a couple of suggestions when things do not work in the experiment that is in your curriculum that you know is supposed to work and it just doesn't. First thing, retrace your steps. Go through that procedure and see if you really did all the steps as you were supposed to. Maybe it turns out you skipped something. That can happen to all of us. Maybe there was a step in the procedure that was not very clear. Maybe it was not written very clearly and you could have misinterpreted it. That could absolutely happen. I want you to think about who wrote the experiment. Probably a human being, just like you and me, a fallible human being that makes mistakes. I know that Sonlight is very receptive about getting feedback from customers, and other products that Sonlight carries are the same, like Matthew C. And then Jay Weil from the Berean Builders High School books, very receptive to hearing from customers about things that they're experiencing. So first, look at the procedure. Maybe there's a problem with the materials that you used. Maybe you misread something. You used baking soda instead of baking powder. It could be user error that way. It could be, and just thinking about the app and what we've seen, I know there was some discussion about those beans and growing those beans, which really can be a cool thing to see, but if they don't grow, you're just stuck. Sometimes materials can be aged or something like that and not work very well. So in that case, you can try again with something new. Like I said before, contact the company and see if they can send you something else. So those are common problems. And then I also want you to realize and think scientifically about this. If you have done the procedure, you probably have done it once. And to get any kind of good data, you've got to do something multiple times. So you and see who else has done that experiment, see if they got similar results, if they encountered any problems too. And then of course, another thing to do is always just to try the experiment again. And sometimes it will work the second time around. That happens. I've done lots of labs in our homeschool co-op. It's super fun to do labs in a group. And one of the things I always point out to them, I have them break up into groups, and they're all doing the same thing, and then they end up seeing they don't get the same results. Nobody in the groups will get the same results because, all different reasons, and we talk about that. So doing things in groups is a good idea if you're able to. So that's something else. I know lots of people sometimes ask, do I have to do the experiments? Well, as a general rule, I would say you don't have to do all the experiments, but I really think it is important to do many of them because they do serve a purpose and they are definitely learning opportunities. One of the ways, like I mentioned, is to potentially do experiments with a group. I do think that is super fun. Another idea that people have done is to make a science day as part of their homeschool, save up the experiments for a few weeks and then pick a day to do those. And that way you've got your time set aside and dedicated to do those experiments. Because I know they do take time to gather the materials and it's not as quick to check that box off when you do have something that's a little more time consuming that particular day of the week. So if doing that once a week is just not happening, then plan a day once a month and see if that works for you. I guess that's about all I have prepared ahead of time. If anybody has any questions, you can pop them up here right now before I close. You can also pop them in the under the video after I post it, and we can talk about those things. So thank you all for joining me, and I hope your experiments go well. Thanks.